Welcome to the July edition of our monthly seminar on the topic Demystifying Corporate Governance and Board Practices, Roadmap for Practitioners and New Entrants. My name is Alessia Kujo, Head of Operations for IoD-Gh, and I'll be your moderator for today's seminar. So this seminar is an hour session. We have the welcome and the admin directive that will be done by me. Then we invite our president in the person of Mrs. Mary Asari-Yeboah to give us the opening remarks. Then Sarah Mankra, my colleague, will introduce the speaker. Then we'll move straight to the presentation. We have a Q&A session, closing remarks. Then we draw the curtain on the seminar at exactly 2 o'clock. The admin directives. So this session is a virtual one, and we admit polling devices which are properly named. That's the reason we requested for registration. So as you join with your device name. And for that reason, we encourage everyone to try as much as possible to minimize background noise when you are not speaking. And when you have to speak, please let's ensure that the background is conducive enough because the session is being recorded. Please position your camera properly just in case you have to speak during the Q&A session and you would like us to see your face. We would like to see what we are expected to see. And let's try as much as possible to limit distractions in the course of the session. In the course of the presentation, if you have any comments, kindly leave it in the chat box and to be read in due course. The same applies to the questions can be left in the chat box. We encourage all of us to follow us on our social media handles. That's our YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and our Telegram platforms. Should you need any assistance or further information, contact the Secretariat on +233 0302 732269 or +233 0240 714 798 or send us an email to info@iodghana.org. Kindly note that the sessions will be recorded. In our sessions, we don't give out the presentation slides, but we send the recording to the platforms from which you joined to register and to be sent to your emails as well. Because you registered, we'll send the recording link to your respective emails by the close of the Thursday. That's to be the 23rd of this month. So by the close of the Thursday, the recording will be on the platforms as well as your email. On this note, it's my privilege to invite Mrs. Mary Asari-Yeboah, the president of IoD-Gh, to give us the opening remarks for this seminar. Madam President, please, I yield the invisible mic to you.
Yes, sorry about that. I was trying to unmute. So good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Do permit me to acknowledge the Vice President in the person of Mr. Michael Justice Ashong and all council members, current and past, on this call, to acknowledge our honorary fellows, members, associates, and indeed everyone else on the call. I thank each and every one of you for your presence here for this seminar. This afternoon, our facilitator, Dr. Frank Boateng, MIOD. And Dr. Boateng, I will want to see this MIOD changed as quickly as like by the end of this week. Because I know you personally, you've been on council, I know a lot of things that you have done, and you way beyond MIOD now. So I'm saying it publicly for everybody to hear. Dr. Boateng, we are waiting for you to please upgrade to FIOD. Sorry for putting you on the spot. Anyway, Dr. Boateng will present a corporate governance roadmap to guide both new and, old board members in their practice. I don't want to speak much about what he has to say. I'm just excited about today's presentation, simply because that is in the space we all occupy as members of the Institute of Directors, Ghana. There is much to know, much to do, and much impact to make. I believe we are ready to learn, or at the very least, refresh our memories and get back to work with the new knowledge or refreshed memory that we have. At this juncture, I would invite Mr. Sarah Mankra, Head of Business Development and Marketing, to formally introduce our facilitator for today, and welcome all of you once again. Thank you. Sarah.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and I stand on existing protocols. It's my singular honor to introduce to you the facilitator for this afternoon's seminar. So Dr. Boateng is an accomplished academic, governance practitioner, chartered accountant, and management consultant with an impressive blend of academic excellence and practical boardroom experience. He currently serves as the acting director of the Institute of Mineral Resource Investment and Governance, and is a senior lecturer in the Department of Management Studies at the University of Mines and Technology in Takwa. Beyond academia, he has held several leadership positions, including head of department and institutional advancement officer, reflecting his commitment to institutional development and leadership. His professional credentials equally are very remarkable. He is a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, a chartered accountant, a certified practicing accountant, and holds membership in several prestigious professional bodies. He has also served in leadership capacities within CIMA globally and currently contributes to the governance of several institutions through his board assignments. A respected researcher and thought leader, Dr. Boateng his works focus on sustainability, strategy, corporate governance, enterprise risk management, and access to finance. He has authored and co-authored numerous books, scholarly articles, and case studies, and has provided consultancy and executive training to organizations such as the World Bank Group, UNDP, MIF, Ghana National Gas Company, and several other public and private sector institutions. His expertise is frequently sought by the media, and his familiar voice on national television, radio, offering expert commentary on management and governance issues. Academically, he holds qualifications spanning accounting, law, finance, enterprise risk management, and a PhD in management, giving him a unique multidisciplinary perspective on board leadership and corporate governance. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Frank Boateng as he takes us through the conversation this afternoon. Dr. Boateng, I yield the microphone to you.
Thank you very much, Sarah, for this wonderful, what do I say, introduction, I have taken the challenge that Madam President has thrown to me. That she want me to become a fellow of our great IoD. I quickly want to locate my slides, so I will share it with all of us. Just give me a moment and I'll be able to get this ready for us. But I might say I think it is a great honor to do this today, because issues of governance is a top burner on corporate organizations' agenda. When the business, or if the business will do well, it can only happen with the right governance architecture that has been put together. So this afternoon, I want to walk us through the landscape of corporate governance. We will dig a little deep into the agency theory and accountability within the landscape. And then we will look at the board behavioral dynamics, as well as the board roles and responsibilities. Then we will move in to look at the effective board practices, and then we'll look at some of the key challenges that confronts our boards today. It's very interesting to note that we have really come, of age, and corporate governance has come very far with us. And I believe that this afternoon, I will get a little bit of time to be able to walk us through the journey that we have traveled as far as corporate governance is concerned. And to me, this journey is crucial, because this is what is going to guide us to be able to navigate the intricacies of what we call best practice in terms of corporate governance. Now, when you trace back a bit of the historical perspective of where we have come from as far as corporate governance training, and corporate governance practice, is concerned, it dates us back, or it predates to the 1600s to, where we are now, today. And historically, we know that in the 1600s, we didn't have anything like corporate governance. I mean, businesses were happening as they were supposed to be until in early 1600s, there was a split between ownership and managers. And this was through the modern corporation and private property in 1932, which was developed by Adolf Berle and Gardiner, Means. At that point, there was a slight introduction, or that is where the real agency problem was identified. But it wasn't solved at that time. And as the years progress, and as we move through the historical perspective, we will point out to where the agency problem was clearly identified and solved. In 1940 to the 1970s was the age of managerial capitalism. And within this age, this was where, I mean, managers really took the wheel and became professionals, and they decided to operate to ensure that capital is properly deployed. This is where boards, I mean, will just want to meet just for a formality. And even with that, meetings were infrequently done. The focus was just on how do we grow the business and how do we return, on our assets that has been, employed. And that took us to 1970s to 1980. And this is where the agency theory and shareholder primacy was properly introduced by Jensen and McLean. They formalized the agency theory in 1976. And here, this is where corporate organizations were given identity and shareholders were given their place. So, I mean, the clear instinct was that corporate organizations are owned by people, and these people are the shareholders of the business who controls everything in as far as the business is concerned. But then, of course, shareholders are varied and there are many people. So these people cannot run the organization on day-to-day basis, as well as all of them cannot also have oversight responsibility on what happens in the organization. So then the agency theory dictates that then there must be a select few among the shareholders who will become board of directors, and they will stand in for the entire shareholders and protect their interests. And then automatically they become agents for the shareholders, right? Now, these board of directors are also seen to be very busy people, sought after individuals. They do not have time to run the businesses on day-to-day basis. So then they also resorted to employing somebody who then becomes the chief executive officer or the managing director of the business with accountability back to the board of directors. So the CEO or the MD becomes an agent for the board of directors. He is accountable and answerable to the board of directors. And then the board of directors are answerable and accountable to the shareholders through annual general meeting, what we call the AGM or EGM, extraordinary general meeting. Right. Now the CEO also is just one person, and he cannot run the business all by himself. So then he will bring a team together at the managerial level, to support his administration, and that structure, is built on. So then they also become, answerable to the CEO, and then they account to the CEO of their stewardship. So at the end of the day, you will see that the agency theory and the structure starts with the shareholders who mandates the board of directors they have appointed to hold in trust, to have a fiduciary responsibility on their behalf as far as the running and the management of the business is concerned. And then they will also entrust that same trust to the CEO who runs the business on behalf of the board of directors and account, to them. So in 1976, this was clearly established by Jensen and McLean, and it was formalized. Now, moving forward to 1992, this was where the first governance code was established. And I believe we all know that is the Cadbury Report of 1992. And this Cadbury Report came, as a result of the failure from what we call the Maxwell's Communication of 1991 by, Robert Maxwell, as well as the Bank of Credit and Commerce International, the BCCI, issues. So this brought about our first governance code, which was the Cadbury report in 1992. I mean, popularly known as the UK Cadbury report in 1992. Fast forward in 2000s, we got the global standards, which of course the focus is to drive hard laws so that we will be able to have systems running. And this is just the same time that we had the Enron and the Wellcome collapse of 2001 and 2002, which of course exposed massive accounting fraud. And what happened is that this brought about, a collapse of investor trust in financial reporting, as well as audit, oversight. And these crises introduce what we saw in 2002 as the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which was a mandatory internal control, which mandated CEOs and CFOs to do specific certifications to bring, about audit independence. And then this also co-opted in the OECD principles of corporate governance in 1999, which has been revised in 2004 and then in 2015. And now it has become a global benchmark for corporate governance that we all learn about. Now, we moved away from the 2000s and then coming, drawing us a little back from 1994 straight to 2016, this is where the stakeholder inclusiveness, was actually promulgated. And that is the inclusiveness models were developed. In South Africa, we report of the South Africans Keynes report, and we have the Keynes Report 1 up to Keynes Report 4 that ran between 1994 to 2016. And this actually pushed governance beyond, compliance. In our own backyard here in Ghana, we have had some ripple effects, which you can all attest to that. I mean, 2017 banking crisis, which has also moved to introduce, SEC corporate governance code. We have had the Bank of Ghana's corporate governance directives. And then even in recent time, there has been extension to community banks, under the 2026 microfinance sector reforms that is currently, ongoing with, the Bank of Ghana. So, if you look at the post-crisis risk, governance between 2008 to 2010, this has issued or brought us some wake-up calls because the global financial crisis exposed some serious board failures in oversight, systematic and enterprise risk issues. In the UK, there was the UK Stewardship Code in 2010 that, has been set up to bring expectations for institutional investors to actively monitor, investees, companies, and so on and so forth. And then between 2019 to present time, where we are now, there has been fantastic issues bordering on ESG and stakeholder capitalism. So here, issues of Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, which we all know as TCFD. We have your ISSB, the International Sustainability Standards Board, its standards, being globally recognized. We have the European Union Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, which is the CSRD also there. And then now today, we have a complete board agenda, which, is driving our corporate governance, move. So this gives us a better perspective and it sets the tone for us to have a conversation. Now, if you look at the Companies Act 992, Act 2019, there is a clear issue about fiduciary responsibility of board members. And to especially our new entrants or those who are desirous and want to serve as board members, I am signing this caution to you that it is a fancy thing to be a board member and a nice to have, but you have to be extra careful what responsibility you are bringing onto yourself. Because the moment you become a board member of a company, you have a fiduciary responsibility and you can be hauled before any court of law should you abuse that responsibility that has been given to you. I just want to reference us back to the Capital Bank case, which everybody knows, in this country, where some board members were hauled, to answer certain questions because of the perceived role that we think they played, the perceived, fiduciary breaches that we thought they had played. So if you want to come in, this is what you need to check. It is a responsibility on you. You should be ready to accept that responsibility. And when you are given the opportunity to serve, please be very careful in decision makings that you would support. Be very detailed and well prepared so you can give off your best to help the organization do its best. Otherwise, that small sitting allowance that you take after board meeting may not be enough to hire a lawyer for you in the court of law. So please, it's good to serve, and we must all do that, but we must do that with that caution that we know what we are signing in for, and we are prepared to give off our best. And we are prepared to speak out when we see that things are not going right. I know today there are so many companies, because it's a precondition for most banks before they release funding. They want to see your board members. Who are your board members? Have you have a formal resolution at a board meeting before you are applying for this loan? Yes, of course. People can easily put people together just to meet this criteria. And the moment funds are released, then they forget about the reasons why they set up the board to function. But please, if you are an owner of a business, having a board is the best thing you might have called for, and you need to pay attention to its existence, because that loan you think you have just signed today, if you are consistent with your board activities, your business will grow and grow beyond you. And sometimes people ask this question, that why is it that companies do not live beyond the owners that set up those companies in Ghana? I don't have any empirical evidence, but I can confidently tell you that one of the major setbacks is because of lack of effective board structure that can support and help that company to be able to function and function very well. So we need to pay more attention, to that fact. Again, I would walk us through the board behavioral dynamics. And to me, this is very, 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 very key when anytime I get the opportunity to talk about corporate governance. It's very, very important. Very, very important. Now, when you look at the behavioral dynamics, we have how we define the governance roles. We have the key board functions, and how do we improve the board process? And when these processes are improved, how do we ensure effectiveness? Very, very important. So if you look at the function, we are saying that the number one role for the board is to formulate strategy for the organization. So they have the responsibility to ensure that strategy and strategic direction of the organization is properly cut out. They need to make sure that everything that they have set to achieve within the strategic framework is properly lined out and is properly being followed. They also have a responsibility to ensure that they hire a CEO. Now, as I indicated to you in the agency theory, the CEO is employed by the board, and the CEO is answerable to the board. The board also has a responsibility to ensure monitoring and compliance. So, on consistent basis, they need to monitor the activities of the CEO and the entire organization. And this is where there is that constant reporting from the CEO to the board to update them on what he and his management team are doing. And then again, any compliance issue that goes through the organization is the responsibility of the board, because any breach of compliance, it brings a huge responsibility to the board. So the board must make sure that their compliance checklist is appropriately updated and it is being adhered to. Risk management is one of the functions of the board. Decision-making that borders on financial spend, decision-making that borders on reputation of the organization, decision-making that borders on contractual agreements. All these, any potential issue of risk, need to be properly assessed by the board. And then the board also has a function to ensure that the entire policy framework and policy architecture of the organization is laid out properly. And this is properly documented, and every unit of the organization is playing a role to ensure that policies of the organization are properly updated. They are updated on time. There is consistency. It adheres to modern trends, etc. And then again, we have another important function, that is networking. You see, networking has become a social tool for corporate organizations. So it is imperative that the board members or individual board members that you enlist or recruit onto the board are people of clouds, not just having an experience or a particular uniqueness in terms of what they do or their societal standing, but who does this person know and how can the organization benefit from the network of this person is very, very crucial and very, very important. So we make sure that we bring people of influence, people of network, and even when they come onto the board, we open up the space to them and let them understand that we really want you to touch base with people who are working within our industry or space. So use your influence to see how you can bring business, how we can network and have new connections, new contracts to move the business forward. And another key board function is the stakeholder communication. So you see, because the board is standing in for the shareholders, also dealing with the CEO and management, I mean, any communication regarding a relationship or interaction with the public must come from the board, must properly be routed through the board. The board must be aware of what is going out so they can measure any repercussion that can have, on the activities of the organization. And then finally, with the keyboard function is decision making. So the board takes the final decision and they make sure that these decisions are made in the interest of the organization. These decisions are made to bring major benefits to the organization. And these decisions are made to ensure that risks are checked and the company can move ahead and deal with whoever they want to deal with. The next is improving board processes. It starts with board meetings. Board meetings are very crucial, and these are the only platform or the avenue where the board meets to discuss issues that affects the organization. Mostly in Ghana, companies are supposed to have a minimum of 4 meetings in a year, which means every quarter you must have a meeting, and that meeting must be properly documented. The meeting must have a clear agenda to be discussed, and the meeting must be attended by members, and it should be all members. And if any member is not able to attend this meeting, an apology must be sent ahead of time so that that is documented in the minutes. In some organizations, if you absent yourself from a number of meetings without any reason, you are supposed to be removed from the board because you'll be seen as not being effective, and the board requires effective members. Board meetings. And we have board meeting agenda. So the agenda is the issues that the committee, that the board is going to discuss. This agenda must be communicated to the members of the board so they can prepare adequately to come to the meeting with more research, detailed investigation, so they can make meaningful contributions. The agenda must be clear, it must not be ambiguous, and mostly this agenda is set by the board secretary and the board chairman. So the board secretary would want to engage the board chairman so the right, topical issues for discussion are put together as an agenda items to be discussed, at the meeting. And then the next is the board papers. These board papers are what you call the board pack. This board pack, we don't have any specific period that you would want to send the board pack to the board members. But I believe that averagely, these documents must be sent to the individual board members 2 weeks before the next board meeting. So they will have ample time to review the documents. Unless you don't want them to be, to bring in inputs that can help enhance the conversation at the board meeting. I know there are some board secretaries who would, for some reason, they will not dispatch these packs on time. So board members will get these packs and they will hurriedly want to rush to come for the meeting, and they will come to this meeting without adequate information or adequate preparation, so they will be able to make meaningful inputs. These are not best practice. They are not best practice. And then the board papers captures or contains the board minutes. And these minutes will capture the previous meetings, that has been discussed, with the matters arising from those previous meetings, which will be discussed in the boardroom before we even discuss the main agenda items, for the day. These minutes are taken by the board secretary, and also to the board secretaries, the minutes must be hand-taken and it should be recorded. So you would have two sources of information when you go back. Because, when you leave the board meeting, definitely the information or the the content that you have kept in your mind would not be the same after 1 week. So if you are not immediately going to put the minutes together, it is advisable that you have a small recorder or your phone that records the conversation, and then you also use your pen and note to make pointers, so that when you sit and you are putting your minutes together, you will not miss anything that was said, in the meeting. This is very, very crucial. Sometimes board minutes are presented and you can see that material facts that were discussed are not captured in the minutes. So if a board member who if the board members misses, to bring to the attention of the secretary that very material information that was not captured, then it means an essential part of the entire discourse that happened had been omitted, and that is not the best practice. And then board calendar. For me, this is where most of our colleagues who are board chairmen or chairpersons, they have problems with their board members. Some board chairpersons will they will even come out with a calendar. And for me, the best practice is that beginning of the year, the board calendar must be set up with tentative dates. And this must be shared with all the board members. Because mind you, there are board subcommittees who would have to meet, and that is the next point we'll talk about, who will have to meet before the main board meetings. So when you communicate these tentative board calendar with them, they will then use that to also set up their meeting dates so that they can meet ahead of the main board meetings. Some board chairs, they will set the meeting at their whims and caprice, at their beck and call, and when they think they have time, forgetting that all the board members are also busy. So please, board calendar is crucial. Make sure you have a tentative board calendar you have shared with your board members. Everybody has made his inputs, and then you work with that. I am not saying you cannot change the date. We are human beings. Emergencies happen, and unplanned situations that are so urgent than the board meeting sometimes happens. And when you do, you will need to engage with all the board members through the secretary, one after the other, to find out if you can communicate another date which will be convenient for all the members so that you can meet. So you can't say, because I am the board chair, on the calendar we are supposed to have meeting today. I am sorry, I need to jet off to Hong Kong. Wait for me to go and come back and we can have the meeting. That is so unfair. Everybody is busy. In the boardroom, you are just one person who is chairing, but every other person sitting close to you is a potential chairperson. So you don't look down upon them because you have been given that privilege and opportunity. The next one is board committees. Any effective board must have structured committees based on the nature of the organization and then operational activities of the firm. So the committees, I'll mention any committee here, but you, depending on the nature of your business, set up committees that will respond to the needs of that organization. Have a committee chair, empower the committee, get some management staff to work with such committees, and make sure you have, effective meetings and effective reporting so that can be shared at the main board meetings. Now, this will take us to board effectiveness. How can we be effective as we improve the board process? The first one from the bottom is director development. You see, when you become a director, we are IoD, Institute of Directors. We must do refresher courses, like what we are doing now as seminar series that we have every month. It's more than a CPD that updates our knowledge on what we do as directors. There are so many other courses, that you can find online, and some of them are paid for. We need to sponsor our directors to undertake all these courses so they can develop their capacity to function well for us. We must do director induction. Very, very crucial. And I am happy, that this is one of the things Bank of Ghana will check when they come to do their, normal routine audit and checks on most of our financial institutions. If any new member comes onto the board and that person is not properly inducted and documented, they will flag it up. So when a new member comes, please find time to induct the person. And what do you need to do through this induction process? The first one is you would walk the person through the organization. So if there is a historical information about the company, bring the person to speed, where the company, how it started, how it has moved, and where we are now. If you have any strategic document, like the strategic plan of the organization, it is that time that you would want to introduce the person to that document for the first time. So let the person understand what goes on. And most people get to boards for the first time. So it is also an opportunity to let them understand this board behavioral dynamics I'm sharing with you today. So walk them through the key board functions, how they can improve their processes, their board effectiveness, and then the defining governance roles, which they have signed on for. So they can understand, what happens in the boardroom and what they are supposed to also respond to. So the induction is very, very important. And then director selection. Who do you select to sit on your board? It is not everybody that you would want to bring on your board. It is not everybody. I mean, one, you are looking for people who bring direct impact, people who have network, and people who can help the cause of your business. It's very, very important. But above all, you make sure that if there is any compliance check, that is done. You have done your own due diligence. You have found out that this is a person of good character. This is a person of good social standing. He doesn't have any criminal liability, and so on and so forth. You do your internal due diligence to check this. Even before your regulator will do their compliance check on the individual you are requesting for them to be on the board. And then the next one is director remuneration. This is very, very important. Sometimes we ignore director remuneration and think that, oh, they are directors. When they come, we'll give them sitting allowance and let them go home. Please. That is not enough. Put directors on monthly retainer or on some small monthly board fees, which you would pay to them. The trick this does is that anybody who receives something from you at the end of every month thinks about you. He thinks about the company, and he still feels part of the organization, even though he will only be there within the next 3 months. So it is very, very important that we set, director remuneration, not just to certain allowance, but we should find a way to also let them see some small money coming into their account at the end of every month, so that it rings a bell, to tell them that you still have a responsibility with this company, even when you are not there. I mean, it works. It works like magic. So those who are not doing that, find a way to see how you can repartition your remuneration structure so that you would be able to remit on a monthly basis to your board members. And then we have board evaluation. You see, it's a regulatory compliant that you do board evaluation for those of you who are in the financial institutions, because BOG will want to see this. But if you are not even regulated or you don't have any compliance check to that, it is important that at the end of every year, you do peer board review. So you let the directors do a self-evaluation of their colleagues, and then their colleagues will also evaluate them. I mean, the trick this does is that, I mean, sometimes you may not know that there is something you need to change or check, but your colleague who sits next to you or sits, at your opposite can quickly tell you that, hey, you have become too hyper when we are discussing issues. I think you need to calm down a bit and let's, focus on the issues. So some of these feedback will let you sit right and you'll be able to give off your optimum best, to the board. So board evaluation is key. And then director protection. Director protection. This is so interesting that, yes, at the board meeting, issues are discussed. Staff and individual issues are discussed. We don't want to see situations where you are at the market square and somebody is throwing you stone. The reason is that when you went to the board meeting, you were the person who was so critical about their issue, and you made them, they got sacked. So it's very, very important, that we do this. Sometimes too, it is very funny because everybody has a friend. I mean, everybody has a relative. I mean, everybody knows somebody. So it can happen that um, um, an issue that was discussed at the board meeting, there was a particular, board member who know the person. And sometimes the kind of conversations, we do have with people, it's so important that the code of confidentiality and secrecy is always adhered to. So you don't go disclose and bring issues to your colleagues. This is very, very important. Very, 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 very important. And then when we move to, the governance roles, definition, we have the role of the board and what the board, does. As, I mentioned, in the keyboard, functions. The board has a responsibility to ensure that the business is run and it is run, well. The board structure, looking at the kind of people you will want to bring onto the board, their expertise and knowledge. We have the roles of the individual directors, on the board, and the diverse nature that it is that they are bringing on the board. What does the chair do? He is the man who sits to make sure that, the meetings are directed, the meetings are called, he called people to order, and the board secretary, as I indicated, the role of the CEO. So these are very key board behavioral dynamics that I want us to pay attention to. Now, let's look at, the board, as is distinct from the management, and then how we use the board to set strategic directions for the company, looking at its key board functions. I've talked about strategic oversight. The definition of the company's mission, vision, and its long-term goals is key. And this must be clear to all board members so that we can all guard, that, and make sure we move in the direction that will move the organization forward. Risk management, I have talked about it so much. That is very, very key that, we make emphasis and pay more attention to it. The CEO performance evaluation is also key. So just as you are evaluating the board, individual board members, you should also evaluate the functions of the CEO and make sure that the CEO's KPIs, is consistent and he's delivering value, to the organization. And then above all, we need to ensure that the ethical conduct of the board members, it's also taken into, consideration. Now, let's quickly look at the roadmap for success. The roadmap for success.
Hello, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Celestia here, please.
Yes,
So
Celestia.
please, yes, please. So we've gone beyond the time. I want to know how many more minutes you need to wrap up. Then
In the
pick
next 5
some.
minutes. In the next 5 minutes, I'll wrap up. So
All right,
composition and diversity is key. We need to build a board with the right skills, bring the right people with diverse experience onto the board. The board meeting dynamics, as I have indicated above, board material information flow, and then evaluation and continuous improvement is key. These are the challenges that we see today. These are the challenges that is faced new board members. One, getting up to speed on complex company issues. So please, if you are a newbie, you need to get up to speed on the complex company issues, especially the company that you have signed on. You need to build relationship with your fellow directors. It is good to always learn. When you learn and you know, nobody takes it away from you. So when you get onto the board, know that some people have been there. They have been there for a number of years. So definitely they have a thing or two to share with you. I mean, be humble, be cooperative, and learn from them. You need to assert, assert your voice in the boardroom. Don't just sit. I mean, speak and let your voice, be heard. And then opportunities for new board members. It brings, learning. You get the opportunity to learn from experienced directors. I mean, in the last 14 years, I have been involved with board, activities. And I remember my first opportunity and the man who gave it, to me to serve on the board. I mean, this was a man who had seen it and done it all, and I had to humble myself and learn, the rubrics, from him. If you do that, you'll be able to contribute fresh perspective and ideas to ensure that you are making a meaningful contribution. Thank you very much.
thank you so much, sir. Thank you for emphasizing the things that we always teach at IoD to the members as a refresher session. Thank you so much. Just some few questions in the chat box. I know we are 3 minutes to the end of the session, but let's pick these few questions. Then we'll invite our Vice President to give the closing remarks. There's a question from Madam Sandra Kofi. She's asking, please, is the secretary expected to inform all the other members of the board when she is recording the proceeding of the meeting? That's the first question. The second question is coming from Mr. Basati. Mr. Bassam.
Celestia,
he said, what?
Celestia,
Yes, sir.
Can you please restate the first question?
So the first question from Madam Sandra is the secretary expected to inform all the other members of the board when she is recording the proceedings of the meeting?
Okay, let's take the second one.
So the second one is, what sort of monthly remuneration for directors in a small family business? She wants to know what is the best remuneration for directors in a small family business.
Okay.
And the third question from the same person, Mr. Bassam, is, still don't understand how to select directors. Can IoD help in this recommendation or selection process?
Okay, let me take
Please,
this.
should I go?
Or do you have more?
Okay, sir.
Go ahead.
Just, okay. No, that's all. Those are the questions. So
thank you. So let me quickly take these three. So Sandra just want to know if the board secretary should, yes, of course, privacy is key. Let the person know the meeting is being recorded so that they are guided with what they will say. Sometimes if people know they are being recorded, there are certain things they will not say. We are human beings. There are certain jokes they may not crack. So let not it be a secret recording. I mean, let them know that you crave their indulgence to record this meeting, and it's only going to be for the purpose of your meeting minute recording. So please, that is it. Now, the recommendation for directors' remuneration, Mr. Bassam, it depends on the organization. You said a family business. We have different types of family business, and we have different family businesses that have respective incomes or profits. So I don't know how well your business is doing. If the business is doing well, for me, I recently helped an organization in Kumasi to reconstitute their board. And my recommendation to the CEO was that if you can afford, depending on where the directors are coming from, you would need to reimburse their transportation. So if you are flying them, buy the tickets for them to come. If they are driving, equivalent of the distance covered, the mileage, and so on and so forth, compensate them adequately so it covers for their wear and tear as well as their fuel. And then you give them some certain allowance which they carry on home. So that put together was just around 5,000 Ghana cedi. And then I indicated that, look, if every month you are able to remit 3,000 Ghana cedi, as a small family business, or 1,500 to the board member, yeah, he can buy data. He will be able to, know that the company thinks about him or her, and he will be able to respond. And sometimes the board functions even when they are not meeting, because there are so many issues that will come up that the board chairman is calling this committee chair and they want to find out this and find out that and all that. So bring them into the business proper. It helps. And then your next question was how to select directors. That one, it depends on the type of business you are running, the nature of the business. Do you need, of course, there are straightforward ones that you will need. I mean, in almost every business you are running. I mean, one, you will need an accountant or a person who has a knowledge on finances. You will need that person. I mean, depending on the nature of your company, you will need somebody who is strong with strategy and marketing. You will need somebody with your core business. If you are running a particular business, a name business, you need somebody who has the industry experience in that business you are doing to also come on your board. So, and a legal person as well. If you can find one, you always need them, to give you the right legal advice so you don't get yourself on the bad side of the law. So this is what I can tell.
Celestia, if you kindly pardon me,
yes, ma'am.
I wanted
please
to
go ahead.
add to what Dr. Boatin has said, and to say to our members that actually IoD, we do have a database, and that if you requested and gave us the kind of criteria you are looking for, because you have so many diverse kinds of members, within the institute, we are then able to go into the database and provide you some of those personalities that you can engage and then make a decision on. So you are not alone. There is help and support for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam President, for coming in with that. And just to add to what you said, that to let the members know that this is done to them for free. IoD doesn't charge them for providing the members to them, just that you take care of them as well. And last question, then the rest of the questions, because of time constraint, we'll send them to Dr. Boatin to answer them. And when we are sending the recording link to you, you will add the answers to it. There's some few questions in the chat box. We'll take them out, put them to Dr. Boatin to answer them. Then we'll send them to you as a document together with the link when sending you the link. Mr. Yakubu, your hand is up, the last person to speak. Then we invite Mr. Michael Jasasation, our Vice President, to give us the closing remarks to draw the curtains for this session. Mr. Yakubu, please, you have the mic.
Very well. All right. Thank you very much. My name is Mr. Yakubu from KUST, Postgraduate Corporate Governance and Strategic Leadership students.
Please go ahead, Mr. Yakubu.
Regarding
Mr. Yakubu, please, if you are
board
speaking, we can
evaluation,
hear
I
you.
want evaluation be conducted in Ghanaian. Yeah. So my question is that on board evaluation, I want to know how frequently should board performance evaluations be conducted in Ghanaian companies? And what is the best strategy to ensure board members act on constructive feedback rather than treating evaluation as a mere formality? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much,
You have the mic.
Mr. Yakubu. So, Celestia, with this one, for me, the best, just as when we do company appraisal and performance appraisal and performance evaluation in organizations, we do it on quarterly basis. I mean, we can decide to do this on a half-yearly basis. Okay. I mean, if you want to strengthen your governance systems, every 6 months, this can be done. You do this peer evaluation of your board members. Before, even at the end of the year, you would have to do the final one. So if your regulator even come to see this, it tells them that you know what you are doing. So I can recommend this to you. You can do this. And then I think your next question, you were looking at, yes, of course, feedback is important. We sit on a board, we are not enemies, we are friends, and we want to improve our understanding of what we do as corporate governance practitioners. So it is important that, you know, we, with the board chairman, set out the rule and let everybody know that we just don't want to do a cosmetic review. Don't just look at my face and tell me I have a nice face, and because of that, I don't have anything to comment about you. When people have attitudes that draw the board meetings back, draw their company's progress back, you have to be very frank and point out to them. Unless you hate the company and you don't want the company to progress. But if you do, then these are some of the things that we need to take seriously, because we should not do this as a cosmetic change.
Thank you very much, Doc. And to add to it, yes, indeed, the board evaluations, when it comes to board evaluations, depending on which sector of the industry you fall into, the regulators have specific requirements for board evaluation. However, it's prudent that even if you don't have a regulatory environment, you should set yourself up to evaluate yourself at least annually, peer evaluation, do your own in-house evaluation annually. And like an institution like Bank of Ghana, for their regulated entities, they tell them that every 2 years, they must invite an external evaluator to evaluate them. And this is a requirement to ensure that their governance practices are within requirements. And the Institute is positioned to support you in this regard. If you need to evaluate yourselves, we can help you either in your peer evaluation or the external evaluation. So please do call on us if you have such a need. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mankra, for adding on to what Dr. Boati has said. So just to let our participants know that IoD is actually accredited by Bank of Ghana to undertake corporate governance training and board evaluation for both financial and non-financial institutions. So please don't hesitate to contact us if you have new board or you have an existing board that you need to undertake some trainings, evaluations for them. We are at your beck and call. On this note, we'll welcome the Vice President of IoD Ghana, in the person of Mr. Michael Jasasation, to give us the closing remarks as we draw the curtains on today's seminar.
Okay, thank you very much, Celestia, for ably moderating this session to a successful end. Thank you, Madam President, for this opportunity. Even before I start giving the closing remarks, I think that there's so many questions out there that didn't get answers for or could not even come out. So I'll suggest to the Secretariat that we bring Dr. Frank Boateng back for, if you like, part 2 of this particular session or topic so that we can discuss it into details, because there's so much that all of us have learned from this presentation. So to the Secretariat, please, if you can consider my request. Thank you very much. But as we wrap up today's session, I want to thank the Almighty God for a successful session, and to thank my old brother and friend, Dr. Frank Boateng, MIOD. And I want to add my voice to this MIOD position. I was going to say the same thing that the president said, that Dr. Frank Boateng has done so much for this institute, and he should be upgraded, given his background, the work that he's done, and all that. So I will call on the committee to request for his, if you like, updated CV and reconsider his MIOD status, like the president has done. Dr. Frank Boateng is a very dedicated member of our institute who has done so much over the years towards the growth of IoD-Gh. Indeed, he has done justice to the topic, demystifying corporate governance and boardroom practices. We couldn't have had any other person do it better. To our new entrants, I wish to leave you with one final thought. Effective board leadership needs your perspective. Corporate governance can feel complex from the outside, but today's roadmap provides us with the right principles. Anyone here can make a meaningful impact based on that. To our practitioners, I want to say that demystifying corporate governance, as we have been told today, is not about memorizing rules. It's about understanding how strategy and transparency together drive long-term value. Today, we have built a roadmap. Now it is time to put it into practice. As you return to your various boards and organizations, I challenge you to look at your practices with fresh eyes, and in so doing, we will be able to contribute to the growth and long-term sustainability of our various institutions and Ghana as a whole. Thank you once again for coming, and thank you, Madam President, for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Michael Zasashon, for giving us the closing remarks. So just like you've put the request to Secretariat, we will give Dr. Frank Boateng a slot very soon. So please watch on your platforms. We'll engage him and communicate the dates for the second part of this session. Meanwhile, we have another session coming up in August. So please watch out on the platforms for the seminar for August. To be an evening session, and please join us. The recording of this session will be sent to your respective emails by close of day Thursday, 23rd of July. So please check your emails for it, and the questions put in the chat box too will be attended to. If not, during the answers sent to you, it will be attended to during the second part with Dr. Frank Boateng. Madam President, thank you so much for giving us this platform to share and to get Dr. Frank Boateng to share his experiences in corporate governance with the members and the general public. And thank you, council members present, honorary fellows and fellows. And if you are not member of IoD Ghana, please take advantage, because this platform is meant to promote our members. You become a member, you get the opportunity to share your expertise as Dr. Frank Watson has done today. So please join us for the next session and become part of the IoD family. On this note, we'll draw the curtains for this session and watch out on the platform for the next session. Goodbye from
I wish
us.
to say thank you to everyone. Thank you all. Thank you all. Bye for now.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.